A quick video here today about frozen propane regulators. Recently it's been pretty cold here in Minnesota and had this issue and couldn't quite find some good information, so I wanted to share some information with all of you about it. I'll include some timestamps down below so you can kind of jump around to just the parts you actually need or want to hear about. All right, quick overview on household propane. So for most big propane tanks like this you'll see in houses, the gas inside is actually stored as a liquid. It's not a gas, it's liquefied petroleum in this state. And then on the top of the tank here, there's a regulator. That's this red piece here. So that's responsible for keeping the pressure inside the tank so it stays as a liquid, and then letting that convert into a gas at a lower pressure in the hose going towards the building where it's going to be used. So when that propane then gets to a building, there's actually another regulator that's here. So the propane will come in from the bottom here, from this buried line into the regulator, and then onto the house. So that regulator reduces the pressure from the gas state that is coming from the propane tank down to the pressure that your appliances operate at. Both these regulators have a vent on them. You can see that's this circle here on this regulator. On the house regulator, it's the one on the bottom. These vents help the regulators manage the pressure as like seasonal changes or temperature, weather kind of affects the changes. It needs to let air in or out to kind of manage that pressure. So it uses that vent. These regulators need a little bit of heat to be able to convert the liquid petroleum into its gas state. So when the ambient temperatures are extremely cold, it can be hard for it to do that. And also if there's any moisture in your lines, or in the tank, or moisture can start freezing in the regulator and that valve and actually freeze it shut, so it actually don't let any of the gas through. Another thing that can cause this is overfilling your tank. Sometimes it can pull in some just liquid gas and doesn't actually get converted into gas going through the regulator, and that can also cause the regulators to freeze. Recently here in Minnesota we had some cold weather down to -25, and we weren't actually home at the time. And I woke up and I got a notification from my thermostat here that instead of being 69 degrees inside, it was actually 50 degrees in my house. So shout out to Ecobee for that option to get that notification. I had a friend come and check and see if they could notice anything wrong with the house. They didn't see anything wrong. Only thing they noticed was that the vents were only blowing out cold air. So the fan was working, the furnace did have power and was operational, it just wasn't producing hot air. So I had to call an HVAC company. They came out and looked at it, and they determined that the regulator was frozen. So they were able to fix that. I guess I don't know exactly how they did that since I wasn't home at the time, but they got it working again, and the temperature in the house did come back up to the 16 degrees like it's supposed to be in here. Next night, same thing happened. Woke up and the house was 50 degrees. Definitely not what you want to feel. So we figured the same thing probably had happened. So we went online to try and see what can we do to solve a warm regulator, get that issue fixed, instead of having to call someone again. Turns out that there isn't a whole lot of good information I could find online. Everything either was talking about like small gas grills or heaters, like the small propane tanks, like 20-pound tanks you can carry around. Or they just went off talking about how you need to change your installation, like you need different pipe size or more tanks or a bigger tank. Nothing really explained how to actually buy your regulator so you can get your house back. So I had to call the HVAC company back, and thankfully they were really good, and they actually told me how to solve the issue to get our house back to up the temperature. As I hope you might guess, nothing in this video is like legal advice or anything. If you do any of this, it's always at your own risk. I avoided showing my propane tank company just so they don't have any liability on them or anything. So if you have to do this, of course, it's always at your own risk, and if you want to check with anybody first, but for sure do that. But this seemed to be the approved route and what worked for us. So the solution, according to the HVAC company and later confirmed by my gas supplier, is actually to pour warm water over the regulators. I had seen that online, but it kind of seemed like that maybe would be a little sketchy, but apparently that's the official solution. So I heard anywhere between 1 gallon and 5 gallons of water. So since I have propane heat, hot water, I didn't have a ton of hot water, so I had to warm it up on the stove. So I still used a 6-quart pan, as well as I have about a 21 quart, which is basically 5 gallons. So I was able to fill those up with water. I only heated up until about 150 degrees. So while I was taking the larger 21 gallon pot out of water, I actually had more water in the 6-quart here come to a boil. So that way, after I had done the first one, I could add some more water to the 21 quart pan and then pour in the boiling water from the smaller pan. And it was up to temperature pretty quick, so it didn't take too long to be able to thaw the second regulator. Since you're dealing with very hot water, you do have to be careful transporting and then pouring it. So I actually used, I put my gloves on since it's negative 24 degrees outside, and then I actually put my glove inside an oven mitt just to get some extra protection from that hot water when I was pouring it. So after carrying the hot water outside carefully, with 2 hands, I sat down on the ground and I picked it up with one hand on the handle, one hand on the bottom with the oven mitt, and then kind of holding it kind of as far away from my body as I could. Carefully poured on the regulator so I wouldn't get any water on me. Kind of looks like once you have your hot water, you simply pour it on your regulator. When you're pouring the water on the regulator, it really just basically kind of evaporates as soon as it hits the regulator. It's not like you're really pouring a big bucket of water. It's turning to steam kind of as it's going out and hitting the regulator. Kind of looks almost like when you see people throwing pans of boiling water in the air when it's really cold. Kind of looks like that as you're pouring it. There really isn't any ice buildup on the regulators, especially the one in the house. Really, the only thing I noticed is there's kind of a little hole kind of in the ground, kind of where some of the water kind of hit the ground there, kind of eroded a little bit of the soil away. On the tank itself, the only thing I really noticed, there's a little bit of ice on the one side of the tank. You kind of have to look at an angle to even see it. It's really not a whole lot there. And there's a little puddle of ice underneath the tank. So it's not like it gets coated in ice or anything like that. After you thaw the regulators, all you have to do is just power cycle your furnace, and then you should be back up and running with your heat again. Hopefully, if you're anything like my house, it will come back up pretty quickly after that for you. If you do have your regulator freeze after you get everything working again, you probably should call your propane supplier. When I called mine, as soon as I mentioned that it froze, they pretty much right away said they would come out and add an additive to our propane tank to help absorb the moisture in the tank and help get that burned up. I believe usually it's methane. People just want to call them and just let them know, and they should be able to do that. I don't know if they're charged for that typically. I don't think they've actually been out to do it yet to my tank. But when I find out, I'll either add to the video or I'll just add a pinned comment so you guys know if there was a charge for that service. So hopefully this helps you out. If you ever have your propane regulator freeze, hopefully that never happens. Pretty easy to take care of. Shout out to the Ecobee Thermostat. I'll try and leave a link to one down below if you're interested in looking that up. We really like ours, so that cold temperature warnings really were helpful in this whole situation. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.